It's the next level.
Hmm? Ah! Oh.
Har har, very funny.
Dude, looks like someone steamrolled Harry Potter.
You love this, don't you? You're welcome.
Welcome, survivors, back to Lost Revisited. We have to go back, or the other way around, depending on which way you look at the title, as we progress further on into our rewatch of Lost Season 1 from the Next Level Podcast Network. I am Ben Beck.
From Podcastica, I am Kristin Howell.
And Kristin, you are just off of a trip to Atlanta.
Yes, sir, I am.
How was short version, because I know we've already talked in depth about it, but for the listeners, how was it?
You know what? Yeah, it was a really good time. I got to co-moderate my very first panel with Irony Singleton, who played T-Dog on The Walking Dead. I got to have a really great conversation with Kari Payton and Sarah Wayne Callies. So I had a really great time. And Maggie Grace was there. I never got to get to her, which kind of sucked because that would have been fun to tell her about this podcast. However, I don't care. It was such a good weekend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved hearing the stories and seeing the pictures. I know originally I was supposed to be there that weekend too, but a couple things changed in, my everyday, and I wasn't able to do it. Plus, I've been recovering from the flu, so it wouldn't have been fun for me at all anyway.
Like the legit diagnosed, tested positive flu.
Yes, which is no fun, and I'm still kind of at the tail end now, but I'm at least back to the point where I'm able to record.
I'm so glad.
Which, because I miss recording with you anytime I never get the chance to do it. And two, I record like 3 podcasts a week. So anytime there's a week I can't record, I fall so far behind.
Yeah, I get that.
And it kind of sucks. But I'm happy to be back, and I'm happy to be recording with you again, too.
Me too, especially since this episode was oh so good.
Yeah, why don't you tell our listeners what episode we're going to be talking about this week?
So today we will be talking about Season 1, Episode 19, Deus Ex Machina, which is a Locke-centric episode. Wow, say that 3 times fast. That was hard. But it was so good. I remember last night when I was watching it, as soon as I was done, I texted you, Ben, and I was like, this is my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, you did.
And I went and I watched it again, like right after that. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's, you know what, you sent me that text before I got the chance to watch it, because I always try and watch the episodes as close to recording as possible so that it's all fresh in my head. And so I watched the episode last night again too, even though I've seen it like 4 or 5 times already. But I rewatched it too, and I wasn't even 5-10 minutes into the episode before I remembered what the episode was and was like, yeah, Kristin's right. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the season. Most importantly, because I've always been a John Locke fan, and this is a completely different breakaway for Locke from what we've seen already. This really changes a lot of things with his character.
Well, not only that, it changes a lot of things, how we perceive him, getting more information. It changes how probably he's going to be for the series from here on out. He's tested. He's very tested. This is probably his very first test since being on the island. And it's interesting to see how he reacts under pressure, under honest to God pressure. So
yeah. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit more into the whole being tested part of it, too, because that's a huge part of this episode. And we'll get into that when we break down our top 3. But before we do that, just a quick rundown as the way this podcast works. This is a spoiler-full podcast. And when we say that, it means there's a chance you're going to hear a spoiler for something that has not happened yet in the show. So it doesn't mean we're intentionally going to do it, but there's an opportunity. So if you're not ahead, if this is your first watch through of Lost and you're listening to us, we apologize for that ahead of time.
I don't.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think you would, because
Nah, I don't.
You're Kristin. So on top of that, podcasts are no longer the 1st and 15th of every month. We are now bringing them to you weekly every Friday morning, which I think was definitely the way we probably should have done this to begin with. But hey, we're doing it now, and that's all that matters. And we're only going to be talking about one episode per recording of the podcast rather than the 2 that we did before, so that we can get into much more detail about them. And I'm still working on cast members of the show to come on and join us. And after watching this episode, I really want Terry O'Quinn. Dominic Monaghan would be great. I really want Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah, he would be wonderful to talk to, especially about an episode like this.
Yeah, for sure. So still working on those, and hopefully we'll get to them a little bit further. Hopefully we'll have something for you in between the time we were talking about season 1 and season 2. So, but yeah, and we'll get the ways you can leave us feedback on the episodes again towards the end of the episode. But let's get into our top 3. And I'll turn it over to you.
No, you always turn it over to me. You go first.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, man.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right, I'm going to start light. I'm going to start a little light with my number 3. And this was something I brought up last week and simply titled Hurley's Only Line of the Episode. But it kind of ties together into a secondary storyline of this episode that I absolutely loved, and that's the whole Jack and Sawyer aspect. Sawyer's been having these headaches. He doesn't know what's causing them. Kate is showing some concern for Sawyer, and approaches Jack like, you should help him, and Jack's hesitant because Jack's the worst. And
Jack is the worst.
And throughout the progression of the storyline, we find out what is causing these headaches, and that Sawyer's farsighted. But out of the entire storyline, the entire secondary story, which I was a big fan of, we get probably my favorite line, not only of this episode, but probably one of my favorite lines of this season. And that's simply Hurley walking past and saying, "Dude, looks like Harry Potter got steamrolled." It is the only line of the episode, and it is by far the funniest line of the episode. I bust out every time I hear Hurley say that. Every damn time I watch that episode and he says that, I laugh my ass off.
Well, those glasses were hilarious. They were just hilarious. And how smart was it to put 2 different glasses together to help Sawyer? I mean, and you talk about that and you think about Saeed didn't even have a line, but he had this great little montage, of him
of breaking them apart and putting
them back together, and everybody helps Sawyer, even though Sawyer never really wants anybody's help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it shows you that the group is, they've kind of got each other's backs at this point, even if they're a jerk. If
everybody has a racist drunk uncle.
Yes. Oh my God, that is so true.
And sometimes you're the racist drunk uncle. If you can't think of who your racist drunk uncle is, you might be the racist drunk uncle.
It's most likely you. Exactly. But I mean, this whole storyline aside, or not aside, but, focusing on the whole story, the whole side story of Jack and Sawyer and, the glasses aspect of it, it wasn't as much of levity as that one Hurley line, but it did definitely add some levity to the episode. It wasn't anything life-threatening to Sawyer, but it was fun watching Jack kind of torture Sawyer a little bit.
Oh my gosh, in the cave with his list of questions about sleeping with prostitutes.
Have you ever visited a prostitute? Have you ever contracted an STD? When was your last breakout? And the best part about it was, as mad as Sawyer got, Kate kind of knew. I know he deserves it, but was it really necessary? And it was just so much fun.
That's another reason why Jack is the worst.
You know what, though? I'm totally on Jack's side for this one.
Why?
Because it was fun. Like you have to admit Sawyer has been a pain in the ass. So if you have an opportunity to kind of embarrass him a little bit, you're not hurting anything but his pride. So why not have a little fun with him, especially if he's been a pain in the ass to you?
Yeah, but Jack's been just as much of a pain in the ass to him.
Oh, I'm not denying that fact at all. But I still think Jack was it was innocent fun, in my opinion.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, at this point, we've all learned enough about Sawyer in the show that, you can't kick a dog while he's down, man. You just can't. And, between, Jack and him, being a doctor, and he's got like this, higher authority for him to be able to pry into his life like that. And poor Sawyer, he starts seeing if he can smell toast because he's so scared about having a brain tumor. And Jack's just playing with him on that. And I don't know. It goes beyond me just liking Josh Holloway. You gotta somebody has to look out for Sawyer. And I feel like I have to protect him a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, from him, seeing if he's smelling those phantom smells.
It was a great moment.
To Jack even telling him, giving him the medical term for being farsighted, which I can't remember what it is now at this point, and just seeing the worry, and almost Sawyer go pale because it's a word he's never heard of before. It's a long, complicated medical word. You know what? I'm with him on that one. That would scare the hell out of me. Because, again, it's something I've never heard of before, and if I don't know it, I don't understand it, and I'm going to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Until, Jack tells him, a couple seconds later, you're farsighted. You need glasses. Dick. So, yeah, Jack's the worst.
Jack is the worst.
But I'm with him on this one.
Like when Kate was like, hey, if somebody's having headaches, what could be wrong? And then he finds out that it's Sawyer and he rolls his eyes. He's like, whatever. And I'm like, dude, man up. It's childish. It's childish. And men can be children. I understand that. But it's just I
don't know what you're talking about.
Just be a doctor. If you want to care, if you want to be the guy that treats everybody, you want to be the friendly doc and the leader with the key around your neck, then you got to be that way for everybody, man.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. He should have helped Sawyer from the start instead of delaying it a little bit. So no, I'm with you on that. But I thought the Hurley's one-liner was Hurley's one-liner was one of the best of the show this episode, and I was just a big fan of the whole Jack and Sawyer interaction too in the background.
Yeah.
What about you? What's the first of yours?
My number 3 was actually Sawyer gets glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the back and forth on that one. I just I love it when the B story is excellent. And I think that the B story was very good in this episode. Again, just like I think it was last episode, the numbers episode, when Locke and Claire built the cradle.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Again, we have another B story that it has nothing to do with the rest of the story, but you just get a glimpse of everyday life on the island, and you get to see some of your favorite characters interact with each other. Like you said, work together with Saeed making the glasses, and Michael and Jin putting that raft together. Those two, I swear, could be a buddy comedy show.
You're learning You're learning a little Korean. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know faster. An idiot.
Yeah. And then he's like, and he's like, yeah, I got it, man. I got it.
You're right. That would be such a fantastic buddy comedy. And
yeah,
you know what?
Right?
But you know what? To a degree, it's not there yet, but it's approaching very quickly. We kind of get that for a short period of time.
Yes, you're right.
I mean, there's a third element into that as well, which I think kind of adds to it too. But yeah, we do kind of get a small degree of a buddy com, even though it's not really a comedy. We get more element stories of just the two of them along with another person. So.
I really enjoy Michael and Jin. I really enjoy anybody that can bring another dimension to the episode than what we're already getting. Like the episode titled Deus Ex Machina means it has to do with like a plot device for writers where there's a twist at the ending that has nothing to do with anything else, but somehow that's where you've gotten to the end or something. And it's like you're watching this whole episode about Locke, and you've got this other thing that's happening at the same time. But that's just kind of what's been happening throughout the entire series, right?
Now, is it you keep saying Machina? As far as I know, it's Machina. Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm just saying, because there is a movie. There is a movie called Ex Machina.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, but I'm getting off topic.
That's what I hear. Yeah, I see that. But yeah, my number 3 was Sawyer Gets Glasses.
Okay.
What was your number 2?
My number 2 is this is a point in the series now. I'm just calling this, is that how it happened? We're getting to a point now where you can almost kind of tell the writers are having fun, torturing the audience, making them wonder, is that how Locke got paralyzed? Because it's not revealed, I think, probably until season 3, how he was actually paralyzed. But there are so many moments starting with this episode and through further backstories of Locke that kind of make you wonder for a split second, is that how he got paralyzed? In this particular episode, there's him running after his mother and the car backing into him, and him falling to the ground and kind of holding his legs for a second. And for a split second, you think, oh, is that how? Nope, he got up, so that's not it. There are other moments. There's a car accident that happens a little bit later down the road, and there are some other things that happen. And it's literally the writers torturing the audience, giving you those split seconds where you're believing, that's how I got... Nope, that's not it. And this was the first instance that we got of that. And there's a number of those instances coming up, and it's a lot of fun watching them now, knowing the true reason as to how Locke got paralyzed.
Yeah, and
No, I don't. Why don't you tell me?
Well, I'm sorry. I was kind of trying to figure out how to say it, but since we're spoiler full, it doesn't matter. But his dad does have a big big thing to do about him being paralyzed. So even if you haven't watched it in a long time and you're coming back to it, you're like, oh, there's his dad. Is this the episode? No, this is the episode where we found out his dad's a con man.
Yeah. And again, being a spoiler full, I won't give the full realization behind this, but there is something really big that happens later between Locke's father and another particular con man that we know. These two characters become very important to one another. Not important to one another, but their stories become very intertwined later on down the road. So what about you? What's your number 2?
My number 2 is why Locke's legs won't work. So, there's so much that's happening in this episode, and, Locke as a man of faith has, he's been really steadfast on he is here for a reason. He is supposed to be doing something. He was paralyzed. He's not paralyzed. He's always on a mission. I love the resolve that has been John Locke this entire season. And this episode, his faith is shook. And all of a sudden, and it starts in the very beginning, the trebuchet doesn't work. And Boone notices that there is something going on. What was it? It was something. What was it that was in his leg?
It's a piece of shrapnel from the trebuchet.
Okay, because I didn't know what part was metal, because it looked like the whole thing was being made from bamboo.
The head of the trebuchet, the part that struck the hatch,
that's right,
is shattered when it hit, and that was where the shrapnel came from.
Right. So that's when Locke figures out that he's starting to lose feeling in his legs. It's interesting that that's right when it looks like he was starting to lose faith in what he was doing, when he said, this was supposed to work. Why didn't this work? This was supposed to work. And then instead of going to Jack, the spinal surgeon, he says, no, Jack won't know what's going on. Whatever. So So I start thinking to myself, okay, what are some of the reasons why Locke's legs aren't working? Is it because the island needed Locke to shed Boone? Was Boone becoming a crutch to Locke? I mean, only one person maybe can go into the hatch. So if that's the deal, then maybe Boone had to be dealt with. But is this supposed to teach him a lesson on using people? Because he uses Boone to do what he thinks he needs to do with the plane on the mission. Because his legs can't work, he can't climb those vines, he can't climb into the plane. Was that because the island knew that the plane was going to fall and that whoever was in that plane during that time was going to get gravely injured? And they couldn't, and the island, quote unquote, can't lose Locke because Locke is too important to the island. Locke's dream, to me, it should have been a warning, not a calling. Don't do this. When your mother shows up in the dream, and your mother's the reasons for a lot of your problems, which we'll talk about later, maybe you should not go towards the plane.
I'm glad you brought this up because this kind of goes back to what we were saying at the top of the episode of, Locke's test and what it means. And the truth of the matter is that even watching this episode and watching everything happen and getting into that over analytical state of mind, this is one of those times that I don't know the answer. I can't figure out what the meaning of everything with this is and what Locke's test truly was. When it comes to Locke's dream and Locke's vision, I do think that was a calling and not a warning. My only thing that leads me to believe that is the Teresa falls up the stairs, Teresa falls down the stairs. That was something that was put in the vision so that he would tell Boone. That was something so that Boone would believe him. I don't think if this was a warning, that would have been in there.
But why? Because Teresa fell down and broke her neck.
I think it was because, if I had to put my analysis on this, I think it's because the island wanted to use Boone as a sacrifice so that nothing happened to Locke.
And while I agree with you, I also think that this should have been heeded as a warning. Locke has learned all of his lessons the hard way so far. We've seen this. He went to Sydney in a wheelchair. He didn't tell anybody he was in a wheelchair, and they sent him home. And he didn't think that was going to happen. He goes to meet his father and knows nothing about his father, and instead of seeing all the red flags before that, gives his kidney to his father, and then his father deserts him. He learns that lesson the hard way. He has this dream where his mother shows up, who's the reason why his father took his kidney, in my opinion. And Teresa falls up the stairs. But Teresa falls up the stairs. Teresa falls down the stairs. This is a woman that, followed Boone and did exactly what she wanted him to do, like Locke is asking Boone to do, but she fell down and broke her neck. And that should have been a warning to Boone. Not to mention he was covered in blood. Then they get to the plane, and the plane is full of heroin, which, as we know, will be a massive problem for Charlie later on.
Oh, yeah.
So not only, and then we see, the Nigerian priest, which, eventually links up with Mr. Echo. But just all of that aside, there's not one part about this dream, about this vision that he had and the way that his legs were that he should have just said, no, we're not going. I'm going to learn my lesson for once before I have to learn it the hard way.
No, and I can absolutely see all that. But, like I said, looking at it the way I was looking at it. And again, this is one of those situations where I really don't know the answer. It could be everything that you're saying and that vision was a warning. Or it could be what I looked at it as if the warning was a calling. I think it was the island using Boone as a sacrifice. That was one of the reasons why John Locke's legs stopped working. Had John's legs been working and he found that plane, as well as I do, he was the one going up into that plane.
No doubt about it. Yeah. But I don't think that they should have been there to begin with.
I'm not saying you're not right at all.
Right.
I think
understand.
That's the truth.
Right. Look, I get it. His legs didn't work so that Boone could do it. But, we got that backstory which is not my number one. So maybe I should have, switched this.
That's all right. You kind of touched on my number one a little bit too, so we're going to be combining number ones into this conversation.
But what I'm saying is that because we're also getting that backstory at the same time as we're getting what this quest that Locke and Boone are on, you're seeing that Locke is not going to learn his lesson the easy way ever. That lesson, he should have learned the lesson given what he went through with his father, and will learn he learned another lesson with his father the hard way later on. So before he even got to the island, he's already kind of screwed himself, like 11 times over. But now it's like he's taken all of what's happened to him in the past, and he's not even thinking about it. And he let that boy go up into that plane.
Yeah. No, I mean, I understand that. And John Locke, in my opinion, is the reason for what is about to happen next episode.
He's the reason what's about to happen for a lot of episodes. That plane should have been left alone. Okay.
No, I see that. I really do. Again, it's
also another test. I mean, it's a setup for another test. It's a test. It's going to be a test for Charlie. It's going to be a test for Mr. Echo. It was a test for Boone and Locke. This plane is a menace.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to lead this into my number one, because this is kind of one of the things that you touched base on a little bit. But before I do that, I want to jump back to one of your comments. You kind of groaned when, Locke said that Jack wouldn't understand what's going on with my legs. And I fully believe that. You're talking about a man who was completely paralyzed, and then all of a sudden the island gave him legs. I don't know if a medical doctor would understand that. I really don't. So I think Locke was in the right when he said that.
Okay.
So
that's fair enough.
My opinion on that.
No, that's fair enough.
So, because I don't think Jack would have been able to explain that.
Well, Jack is the worst.
Jack's the worst, so that's why he wouldn't have been able to explain it. But I want to touch on the plane, because you did touch on a number of things. The priest in the trees, a.k.a. Yemi, who we have not met yet, and we all have also not yet met Mr. Echo, who is another dynamic character who we will meet next season. But there's so much with this plane that it kind of, watching this episode, going back and rewatching this episode and seeing all these events play out with Boone up into, climbing up into the plane. Well, first, the priest that's not really a priest, spoiler, falling out of the tree, Boone going into the plane, finding the Virgin Mary statues full of heroin, and then the radio broadcast before the plane even comes down. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time I had watched this episode, replaying that scene and listening to that radio broadcast and hearing, "We're the survivors of 815."
Yeah, that was cool.
And that comes into play again next season. So, that's something we're not going to dive that much into right now. But there is so much with this just one particular event that kind of ripples throughout the rest of this series, at least for the next couple seasons. You already made mention about, Yemi, the priest in the tree, and Mr. Echo, and the connection that there is with that when we meet Mr. Echo. There's the radio signal, the return radio signal, which we'll get to next season. There is the Virgin Mary statues, which become a huge hindrance for Charlie. But there's one other thing that you did not mention that also comes into play later, and it's the plane itself and where it lands. That spot is very important, is not very important, but comes into play later, because there is something under it. Did you not remember that?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't. I thought that you were going to mention the fact that you could argue that Boone and Shannon are kind of directly affected by this plane in very similar ways.
Well, what way is Shannon involved with the plane? I know obviously how Boone is involved with the plane, but does Shannon have a direct connection to the plane as well?
So I just thought of this right now as you were talking. As they say, we're the survivors of Oceanic Flight 815. Okay, so now now they know that there are other survivors on the island, which means that those other survivors are going to make their way over so that the two groups can meet. And what happens
Oh
when the
yeah.
two groups meet for the
Yeah.
very first time?
Yeah, you're right. That is a connection. It's a loose connection, but it is a connection to that
It
plane.
is a connection.
Yeah.
I know it's a stretch, but it is. Without that radio call, a lot. Look, without finding the plane, he should have ignored the dream. He should have ignored the dream.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think even had they not found that plane, the events of season 2 still would have played out. So I don't know if the plane is it is a loose connection. It's not a direct connection, because I still think it has nothing to do with Locke and Boone as to why the tail end survivors are found. That's more another group of people. So I don't think the radio broadcast is what brings the survivors around, but it does connect them. If you kind of catch my drift on that.
Maybe.
Okay. Again, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast, because like we could see things two completely different ways.
And we usually do,
We
so
do.
it's fine.
Although this is one of those episodes that there wasn't anything for me to overanalyze. I've overanalyzed Locke's vision, and I can't figure it out. I can't come to a solid answer. It could be either one of ours. It could be something completely different.
Well, I'm just saying, if your mom's in there and your mom ruined your life and took your kidney indirectly, maybe you don't follow where your mom's pointing.
I will tell you, though, she is mouthing something, and I can't figure out what it is.
Maybe it's don't go over there. I hope it's don't go over there.
Don't listen. Don't go to the plane. But yeah, I mean, again, going back to what I was saying too, where that plane lands does become important later. Or does come back later, rather.
I totally need to be reminded on what that is.
It is it is another we're spoiler free, so it doesn't we're spoiler full, so it doesn't really matter. It's the surveillance hatch.
Oh.
It's where all the monitors are monitoring all the different all the other stations. And I say station because that's what we find out the hatch is later.
Right. That's with all the videos, right?
It is.
The orientation video where Locke says, we're going to have to watch that again.
It's the orientation videotape, not the orientation film.
Right. Okay.
And it is also a first appearance of another character.
Which character?
The Russian.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like him.
But I'm just now realizing too, that episode where the plane lands and the hatch underneath of it is also the Nikki and Paulo episode, so we might skip that one. No, we'll talk about that one, because trust me, that's it's
a good episode.
Okay. You can find a co-host for that one.
It's an episode.
It's an episode. But what about you? What's your number one for the episode?
My number one is Locke's backstory in the mousetrap.
Oh, good one. That's my overanalyze moment.
Okay.
So go for it.
So I like it how the show opens up with Locke telling this child about how to play the game, the mousetrap. And he talks about how you've got to put all of your pieces in the right places at the right time, and then you set up the cheese, and then right when you think everything is where it's supposed to be, that's when you drop your trap. And so it sets up if you've been paying attention to the series as a new watcher, you realize that explaining mousetrap at the beginning of this episode is not going to be for no reason. It's not a coincidence. So I kind of went through, when I went through the second time, I started listing out what Locke's mousetrap was in his backstory that ultimately led to him getting his kidney stolen, and it was stolen. So you have wait, hang on. Let me just make sure.
Don't confuse yourself.
No, I'm not. So it says, Locke's parents put him in in the mousetrap. You lay it out piece by piece, put the cheese out, and at the right time, let it loose. So you see a little bit of that. You see that his mom shows up and acts crazy. So then he gets a private investigator who finds his dad, and he goes to see his dad, and his dad walks in and acts like he doesn't know that he has a son, but the guard knew who Emily Locke was when he said, Emily Locke's my mother. And Anthony said he didn't have a son, but he said he didn't find out about him until a year after she had him or found out she was pregnant with him, but he thought that she took care of it, whatever. All lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, let's go hunting. I bet you like to go hunting. And then, you see that they're starting to build a relationship. And then he was supposed to come at noon, but he came at 11, which he, Anthony most likely said, come at 11. And then that way it would be, oh, you weren't supposed to see me with this dialysis machine, right? And so then Locke gets, worried about his quote unquote father. And then they go hunting right after that. And Anthony calls him son, which, makes Locke very happy.
Yeah.
And he starts to feel like he has a father. And so then he, of course, offers his kidney, and they're together. And then that's when the trap lets loose, because he wakes up without his kidney and his dad is gone. And then he can't even, and the guard's like, no, I'm sorry, you can't go. Doesn't tell the hospital staff that was his son. I mean, totally left him in the dark. He got trapped. Like, that was the worst. So then after that, you see the exact same thing happen to him on the island. The trebuchet won't work. Locke's legs go numb, but he still won't stop. He won't go to Jack. Locke has that dream that should have stopped him in his tracks, but he kept going. Boone didn't want to go, but, Locke said the magic Teresa word, and so all of a sudden Boone's in on it. And then his legs don't work. And so then as he's climbing up, as Boone is climbing up the vines, Locke calls him son.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
And I'm like, what are you doing? You're doing to Boone what your own dad did to you, dude.
He's playing Boone like Anthony Cooper played him.
Exactly. You mouse-trapped Boone into that plane, and then Boone is going to ultimately give his life for that. And that sucks. And so it's like, that's what I mean when I say he learns his lessons the hard way. And then he gets Boone to Jack, and he fucking disappears.
But here's my question to you on that, though, and
I'm very upset about this.
I can tell. Trust me. One of the reasons why I'm interrupting is to kind of calm you down a little bit. But here's my question to you on that. As far as that goes, and I completely see where you're coming from the entire mousetrap being rebuilt on the island and all these different pieces coming together to play out. I think you can look at this one of two ways. You can look at this as in the trap failed and it cost Boone his life, or Boone being a sacrifice is another one of those pieces to the trap, and the trap is successful in that when it comes to that final moment of the episode of Locke outside of the hatch and the light coming on, that's the cheese. For Locke, that's what he wanted to begin with. He needed to know what was in that hatch, and now it's going to happen. That light coming on.
Look, that's great. I understand what you're saying. But he left Boone like his dad left Locke.
No, and I totally see that. I absolutely see that. And I'm not saying you're wrong at all.
So for him to be as upset as he was that he didn't get what he wanted.
It's kind of hypocritical.
Yes, exactly. And if I were Locke, I would be horrified at my own actions on the island and how they paralleled that of a father that left him to the foster system and then played him more than once.
Well, I think him leaving at the end of that, and we get that final moment of him like pounding on the hatch and screaming like, "What is it that you want me to do?" We're seeing for the first time since Locke arrived to this island his lowest moment when it comes to faith.
100%. His faith was completely shaken.
Is almost completely gone at that point. And then the light comes on, and it's, wait, I see the light. And granted, the light's not from above, as any other typical faith. It's coming from below him. But, yeah, I mean, we're seeing the lowest point of John Locke in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
because you're right, his faith is absolutely shaken, and not only is his faith shaken and he doesn't know what to do, it now costs somebody, ultimately is going to cost somebody their life.
Correct.
I mean, and we're giving a little bit of spoilers as to what happens next episode, but still.
This is a rewatch, and we all know what happens to Boone.
Yes, exactly. It's early enough on that we know what happens. Yeah, so I see that too. I see this as, it could be the trap was successful or the trap failed. It's all a matter of how you looked at it.
But how amazing is John Locke when you look at who his parents were? I mean, really. I mean, he had two crazy parents, and he was raised in the foster system. I mean, when you really look at Locke's backstory, it's incredible that he is as resolved and as and as faithful as he is.
Yeah.
Because he is a man that has absolutely no reason to be that way.
No, agreed. I mean, but also on the other half of that too, we can't forget Anthony Cooper. I mean, this is the first episode we're meeting Anthony Cooper, aka John Locke's father, and we're going to find out as this series progresses how intertwined he is to this series.
And how awful he is.
Oh my God, he is a horrendous human being. And he, when I was talking about his connection to another character later on, I thought about that a little bit more. And yeah, he is a direct connection to another character, into the fact that in the same way that the Joker created Batman, Anthony Cooper technically created another character.
Yeah, you could say who it is.
He created Sawyer.
Yes, he did. Say it loud, say it proud.
He created Sawyer. Anthony Cooper is not indirectly, he is the direct reason why Sawyer is the person he is today.
Yes.
And we'll break that down.
Locke and Sawyer should be besties, man.
Yeah. I mean, we'll break that down a little bit further as that gets revealed a little bit more. But if you know these characters already, you can kind of piece it together.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this episode. What was your number one?
We talked about it. The plane.
Okay. The plane.
I wrote that down. I wrote the plane, Boone, the plane. How I like to give everything my little titles. And then I also made a final note too of, well, we'll leave the light on for you. And that was my way of talking about the hatch light coming on. But yeah, that goes through our top three. I mean, we've pretty much covered almost everything that I had in my notes. I mean, we have, other than the fact that this is the first real time we're seeing the full hatch kind of revealed and kind of open. We got a little bit of a glimpse of it at the end of last episode when we saw the numbers on the side of it. But this is the first time we're seeing it in the light and seeing exactly what it is. And we haven't even scratched the surface as to what the hatch is yet.
I can't wait.
I know. We're not going to get into that until next season, which, hey, we're only like 5 weeks away. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we talked about, Locke's legs and what was going on with them. And how Locke got conned for his kidney. That pretty much covers everything I had for this episode. I don't know if you have anything left.
I have a couple things. They were just little. One of them was watching Boone go up those vines. I wrote down a note that says, Boone doesn't strike me as the rock climbing type. And he's just effortlessly going up there. And I'm like, this is just not even a little bit connected to who Boone is as a character. But okay, let's go with this. Little pieces of trivia is Locke's mom and Hurley were at the same mental hospital.
They were?
Yes. The mental hospital that she was committed to is actually the same mental hospital that Hurley was in.
Do they just mention it by name?
Yeah, it was in her records.
Okay.
And then when Locke tells Swoosie Kurtz the aisle numbers that the footballs were on, he referenced aisle 8 and aisle 15.
Yes, he does. Again, another one of the numbers being coming into play.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But that's all I really had.
Okay. Yeah, this is absolutely probably one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Such a good episode.
Yeah, and again, just backstory at this point, one of the most intriguing and mysterious characters of of the series, but we get a little bit more insight into the character in this episode. But there is still a long way to go discovering what you need to discover about John Locke. And then just when you think you have everything figured out about John Locke, something happens to his character that completely changes everything.
Yeah. Deus Ex Machina.
Yes. So,
this was the first episode that was written by Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse.
Carlton Cuse. Or Cuse, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And it was the very first one that was written by them, and they would go on to write a lot more episodes.
Yes. So. I don't see Carlton Cuse in the writing credits, but Damon Lindelof was.
Mm-hmm. They were both. I have it right in front of me.
Oh no, I'm looking at next week's. Never mind. I'm looking at next week's episode. Damon Lindelof was a part of next week's, but not Carlton Cuse. This week he was. Yeah, this Deus Ex Machina, he was part of both.
Well, this was a fantastic episode. So way to go.
And Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse also become the showrunners of the show, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So bravo, because
yes,
teaming up with this. You know what? This show is the main reason why I will give almost anything that J.J. Abrams does a shot.
I like J.J. Abrams. I know people have their problems with him, but I really like him. I like what he does, and I don't understand the hate for him, but that's okay.
I'm the same way. Like, I liked Super 8 and Cloverfield, and
I like The Force Awakens.
Yeah, I did too. And I liked what he did with the Star Trek films.
Yes, a lot. I loved it.
And I actually am going to a screening of Overkill, which is his newest movie coming out next in 2 weeks, which is like zombie Nazis, I think, sort of. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that too. All right, so I think we've covered pretty much everything we can about the episode. Before we get into feedback, do you want to jump into the manifest minutes?
Yes, I do. I do.
I know you do. So let's talk a little bit about that. We have, this was episode 5 of the season. I thought we were going to do a double shot, but there was actually no new episode this week.
I know. Well, they knew that you would have the flu. That was nice of them.
Yeah. It goes back to when when I talked to Parveen Kaur. She probably knew that I was going to be sick, and she told the showrunners, let's wait. Let's give him a week.
It's so nice of her.
I know, right? But yeah, Connecting Flights was this one, and this was more like stories about the people that were kind of left behind when Flight 828 disappeared.
Yes.
As well as there was, some stuff that was happening, especially in particular with the character Thomas and Cal. Yeah. Wow.
There's always the creepy kid that knows everything. Always.
So what were some of your thoughts on this week? I know you're probably going to have more than me, only because I look at this, and I told you this before we started recording. I don't get me wrong, I liked the episode, but to me, it was, compared to the last couple weeks, was just a little uneventful. There was definitely some things that happened, but no big mysteries, really, other than the fact of what the hell is going on with Cal.
So, I am somebody who really likes it when a show explores the theme of grief. I've been through a lot of grief myself. I've been through a lot of loss. And when a show can get grief correct and write it out correctly, I really connect to that. And I thought that they did a really great job with that. Watching this family completely lose, their loved ones for 5.5 years and try to rebuild their life brick by brick. I thought that was really, I thought that was really great in the fact that it made me care more about Grace. It made me care more about Olive. These are two characters that I haven't really cared a lot about because we've been so preoccupied with what Ben and Michaela have been going through the past couple of weeks. Seeing how Danny and Grace met, seeing kind of how their relationship evolved, seeing where Danny started with Olive to that very last moment before, when the plane comes back and Danny is leaving and they're all hugging and crying. I can't imagine how torn in half somebody must feel for that to just completely break apart your life, and for Danny to come and be so honest with Grace and say, listen, if I have to lose you, I can do that. I can manage. I lost so-and-so, who I guess was his wife, which is why they met in that grief group.
Yeah.
But he couldn't bear to lose Olive. He had thought of Olive as his daughter. And you forget that. For a couple of weeks, I was like, I don't like this guy, Danny. Like, get out of the life. Get the husband came back, or Ben came back, Cal came back. Like, let them be a family again. You can't get in the way of that. But I can understand that it would be hard to lose what you had grown to think of as your daughter.
And you know what? I want to jump in on this for a second, too, because I can kind of personally connect to this. I was the same with you. Danny was somebody that, I kind of didn't like because I felt like he was in the way. And then throughout this episode, you're right. You see, like, he says that, like, I could lose you, but I don't know how it would be to lose Olive. Jumping into my personal life for a little bit, I dated somebody for a while who has a child. And I grew to love that child as if she were my own. I mean, I was with her from the time that the child was 1 until just after she had turned 3. So, and in all honesty, now we split because of a breakup and not because of somebody coming back into her life. But I can honestly say, as somebody who's been in that situation, the hardest part of that wasn't the breakup with my ex. It was no longer being a part of that child's life. So
right.
I can totally see, and I kind of connected to Danny in a way this episode.
Which is wonderful, because I think that, up until this past episode, we view him as a villain. And he's really a man or a character that is actually going through his own set of feelings and his own grief and his own confusion in what's happening with Flight 828, and how it indirectly relates to directly relates to his life, right? Yeah. But watching Grace stay in bed and kind of forget about the fact that she had another child, because she had just lost this child, and her, when she kind of wakes up from that fog, when she sees that not only is her daughter making her food, but she's having to do it around moldy food. She's cutting herself. She's getting along and trying to take care of her mom, when all this time her mom needed to be taking care of her.
Yeah.
And that's a wake-up call for any mother, right? And I love that they touched on all of these huge moments in grief, because grief is such a fog. It cannot be adequately portrayed unless you've been through it. But when you watch something and they just nail it, I appreciate that so much, because I really felt like they nailed it this week with what that family went through. You see what Jared and Lourdes went through, and their struggle to even be together after, losing the love of his life and her best friend. Right. And you can see how that would naturally bring those two together, as much as you want to hate that for Michaela.
Yeah, because Jared was even another one, pardon me, who I kind of looked at not necessarily as a bad guy, but in a little bit of a negative light.
Correct.
But
or Lourdes.
Yeah, and then after seeing this episode, and like you mentioned, seeing the struggle that they went through to even be together, you kind of have a little bit more of a different viewing of both of these characters. And you kind of can't blame them for being together at this point anymore.
Right. And see, I just think that that's so wonderful that the show took a break from the mysteries and the plane and the callings and blah, 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 blah. But it took a backseat. It took a B story, right? They were the B story this week, and they brought forth a different perspective for the audience and for the viewer to just get a different view on some other characters that maybe we'd been kind of casting aside, so that we can focus on the exciting part of the show. And I love that, because now it feels like I'm looking at a true ensemble cast and not just a couple of these people from the plane and then, like what's happening around them as. Yeah. So, yeah. And, you can even take that as it's all connected, which seemed to have been the overarching theme of the episode anyways, right? With Cal, and I can't wait to see what on earth he saw outside the place.
Oh,
Make him say it's all connected.
You and me both, but here is my question. And I'm going to pose this theory to you. We see at the very end of the episode, Cal look out the window, see that, and say it's all connected. Now, my theory, the voice in Ben's head and in Michaela's head, do we think it's Cal?
Oh, maybe.
I have a feeling the voice they're hearing is Cal. Because
That's a great theory.
Cal is not hearing the voices like everybody else is. But he somehow has a sense. I think whatever that was in the sky that he saw, I think somehow he is the voice that they are hearing. I think it's Cal's.
Did you ever see the 4400?
I have not.
There's a kid in there. There's a kid in the 4400 too that seems to be like, the all-knowing kid. So it had a very 4400 feel to me at the end with Cal, and kind of when he's like, just follow me, it's all connected, and bringing Ben back into the fold with the little subway chase that he did with Cal, led him
to Thomas.
Thomas, thank you. I kept wanting to say Michael, and I knew that was wrong. I just all of it. I love how it is all connected in the end.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I do like that idea about it being Cal's voice. It'd be interesting to go back and rewatch those episodes that we've had so far to see if it is a little boy voice.
Yeah, I might have to do the same thing now just to see. Because it would be interesting if somehow that was Cal's voice. And, I mean, going even further with the theory, what if Cal is really not Cal?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who would he be?
A replacement of sorts.
See, I always thought, I've been wondering if maybe Cal's going to start rapidly aging.
Okay.
Like 5.5 years.
All right. And basically catch up to Olive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably wrong, but
we both might be wrong. It's the mystery of the show.
I like it.
I do too. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it's getting there. And next week looks like it's going to be even more interesting, and it's going to be more involved with Cal again.
I watch it on Hulu, so I never get
previews. I don't either. I'm just reading the synopsis for next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Cal
wakes up with a. I won't tell you then.
Yeah, I've been enjoying not actually seeing the previews. Same with The Walking Dead right now too, because I don't have cable right now, so every week it's been really great to just go in and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch this episode totally fresh.
Yeah,
and not have any preconceived ideas.
Even though if you watch via me, it still puts the previews at the end. You just don't have to watch.
With what?
With Plex.
No, it's never had that, ever.
Really? Because the episode that I just put up for this past week has, if you watch all the way to the end of the credits, it shows you the preview for next week.
Oh, interesting. Nope.
Just stop it when the credits roll. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. And you won't have to worry about it.
Cool, man.
Cool. So, let's jump into some feedback.
Sure.
And as always, our buddy Steve has left us a couple voicemails this week, as he's started leaving us voicemails for Manifest as well, which I think is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and we'll listen first to his feedback from this past episode of Lost, Deus Ex Machina, and then we'll listen to his voicemail for Manifest. So let's play that right now.
Good evening, Ben and Kristin. It's Steve, and I just had a few thoughts on Deus Ex Machina, which I thought was really good, so hopefully these will make sense. I love Locke's line, it's called a trebuchet because it is a trebuchet. That was really cool. And, I realized something now that I'm not seeing or not watching the show through kind of Jack-colored glasses or Hero Jack-colored glasses. I noticed how much of a jerk he is. And even this doctor's appointment with Sawyer, it's a very jerk kind of doctor thing, and I've known doctors like that, so it's not a far stretch for me to see him acting like that toward Sawyer. And Kate's kind of, I know he deserved it, but so I thought that was really cool. This is the start where we're gonna start to see in flashbacks all these moments. And I remember from watching the show before that there's all these moments where we think, oh, this is where Locke got paralyzed, and then we find out, oh no, it's not. And then there's like another instance we go, oh, this is where, oh no, it's not. And so until we finally find out how he does get paralyzed. So I thought that was kind of made me laugh, and remember that thing of all those different little moments where we're like, oh, this is it, and then we find out it's not. We're starting to see some of those deeper connections as that are going to come through, and I'm starting to remember things that happened down the road that we find out, that I think is so cool. And again, just to see the foreshadowing that was going on for future seasons here. I forgot that Saeed was the one who made the glasses. I thought that was kind of interesting that here he is, this guy who doesn't like Sawyer, is making these glasses for him. And I forget, maybe you can help me out, or if you don't want to spoil it, how long is it before we find out who was on the other end of that radio conversation with Boone? I seem to remember we do hear that conversation again in later seasons. I just can't remember how far along it is. So talk to you later.
I love Steve.
I do too. And Steve, thank you so much for confirming what I said earlier about the whole, no, this is when it happens. Oh, no, maybe this is when it happens.
And he agrees that Jack is a jerk.
Yeah. I love Steve's voicemails for that too. And he touched, I have to say, Kristen and I don't listen to these voicemails. When you guys are hearing them through the podcast, that's pretty much our first times hearing them too.
Yeah.
So, because we like keeping it that mystery for when we do this. So, oftentimes you might hear us have already talked about something that's being brought up in the voicemail, which is fine. But yeah, so you know,
Jack is the worst.
Like Jack is the worst. Jack is a jerk, and he's known doctors like that. But yeah, you know, we talked about the other line on that, and that does come into play into season 2. So we'll get a little bit more of that. I think it's maybe about 9 or 10 episodes into season 2. I could be way off on that, but I do know it's season 2. So that'll be fun when we get into that aspect.
Yeah, it's called like The Other 48 Days or something like that.
Yeah. That's
the episode. Yeah.
So, but yeah, thanks for that voicemail, Steve, on Deus Ex Machina, and that is the proper pronunciation. We've been saying Deuce, and it is Deus.
Deuces.
Noise. Let's
Toy.
We do have another voicemail from Steve, and that is
for the manifest minutes.
For the manifest minutes. So let's go ahead and play that now.
Hey, Ben and Kristin, it's Steve, and this is for the Manifest Minute. Just a real quick thought. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of the whole Michaela-Jared thing as opposed to the Danny Grace thing. I know where I'm at on it. I think they should both step back. I think Danny should step back and Michaela should step back, because these are married couples that we're dealing with here. So hopefully we'll see, but it's going to be some interesting drama.
Yeah, it's interesting that he thinks, and we were kind of on the same page too, but we really didn't touch on what we felt that Michaela should do. And I guess it's seeing it from the other perspective, from the other side of it. So maybe he's right. Maybe Michaela's the one that should kind of step back, or should Lourdes be the one to kind of let these guys get a second chance at things?
Well, and that's where it comes in with if they had never gone, Michaela and Jared would be married.
I mean, because she was going to say yes.
She was going to say yes. Essentially, she got off of the plane expecting to have a fiance, and her fiance is married. I mean, there was no time loss for her. There was no time loss for Ben. You know, Ben was already married. So I don't know.
It's
even as I talk it out, even as I talk it out, because I'm all for, listen, they're married, you don't mess with that. I do think that Michaela should step back. I think it's tragic that she should step back, but it's probably the right thing to do. And you need to let Jared and Lourdes kind of organically end, as we all know that they're going to.
But it kind of also doesn't help too that she has a voice in her ear in her father. And her father's the one telling her, if you still love him, you need to go get him. So, I mean, she's got
Well,
people
he makes
in her...
a good point. He makes a good point. He says, if I was on that plane and I came back and your mom was with someone else, I would not stop fighting for her. But that's what he needs to say to his son.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too.
His daughter was never married to Jared, and he went through the grief. He went through everything that he was supposed to. His daughter didn't have a family with Jared like Ben does, didn't have a whole life built in. What was it, 15 years of marriage?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're two completely different situations. I don't know. I mean, if any of the listeners have any ideas of what you think these two couples should do, who steps back, who doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It's just I'm glad I'm not in it, because I don't know what kind of decision I would make either.
You're glad that there's no alternate universe that, pits people against each other with different timelines and
Yeah, I'm really glad I wasn't on a plane that disappeared for 5 years. That's pretty
and
much
I
the
thought
basic
I was
gist
gone
of
for
it.
5.5 hours.
Exactly. Cool. So thank you, Steve, for both of those voicemails. Anybody else who's listening out there, which we know we've had a couple new listeners as of late, we definitely encourage you to leave us some feedback for the episodes as well. And here is exactly how you can do that. First off, we are on Facebook at facebook.com/Lost Revisited.
We are on Instagram at Lost Revisited Pod.
You can email us at lostrevisited.pod@gmail.com.
And if you'd like to leave us a message, you can record yourself and send it to our email address.
Yeah. And last but not least, we want you to be sure to check out all of the other podcasts we have on the Next Level Podcast Network, as well as the Podcastica Network, in which you're going to get a double dose of me this week.
Yeah, Ben's going to be on House Podcastica this week, so we record for that tomorrow, and look for it at podcastica.com or on our page, facebook.com/House Podcastica or podcastica.com/House Podcastica. There you go. There's all of it.
There you go. Yeah, all the plugs.
And you have a lot of shows that are starting back up with your DC shows.
Yeah, we're in full force now, man. All the shows, The Flash is back, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, and Arrow. All 4 of the shows are back, so we're back into full swing with DC too. We had to record on Sunday, and it was tough because I was still recovering from the flu, and my co-host for that podcast was recovering from a really nasty head cold. So you had 2 guys who could barely speak, really putting in as much effort as we could to get a podcast recorded because we kind of had to. It's with a revisited podcast, we can take a break here and there because the shows don't air weekly. But with the DC one, we're kind of stuck that we have to do a weekly show because these shows air every week and we break them down every week. So, but
that's
we got through it.
wonderful. You didn't have Phoebe's sexy singing voice?
No, I did. I just didn't. Oh God, what's the song that she sings?
My sticky shoe.
that's
Why
it.
you step on me, baby. My sticky shoes.
Oh God.
That one was just for you, Ben.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, so next Friday, we'll be back again with another episode, and we'll be talking about the next episode of Lost in Season 1, which is the 20th episode of Season 1, Do No Harm, which is another pretty significant episode to the season, as there are some life-changing events that happen.
Life-ending events.
And a life starting event
Hey, all right. When one door closes, the other one opens. Hey-o.
Exactly. But we want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for tuning in every week as we've gone weekly, and even when we didn't, when we were once or twice a month and you guys listened. The other thing I want to say real quick, two things real quick before we leave, is one, if you listen to us, subscribe to us on iTunes or like us on Facebook, which we hope you do, we encourage you to write a review if you can. Leave a review on both iTunes and Facebook, and depending on what you write, we will most likely read it on the podcast at the same time. And last but not least, I know I speak for Kristin when I say November 6th is approaching very quickly. Make sure you get out and vote. We don't ask what your political affiliation is. The most important thing is that you get out and you make your voice heard.
Yes, and early voting has already started in a lot of areas, if not all of the areas. So if you don't have time on Tuesday, there are early voting spots that you can go out today and go vote.
Pennsylvania, unfortunately, does not offer early voting.
North Carolina does. Go out there and do it.
Yeah, so I am stuck to a schedule on November 6th, but I will be out there first thing in the morning to make sure I cast my vote. And I've even put it out there to some of my friends that if you do not have a way to get to your polling place, I have made myself available all day to get you there. So, and I know we've had some friends that have made that same offer where they live as well.
Mr. Pake Allen.
Yes.
Tyler, Texas.
Shout out to him. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of We Have to Go Back. Until next time, we'll see you guys further down the rabbit hole. Take care.
Bye.
We have to go back, Kate. We have to go back!